the iPhone 14 is going to be very different than the previous iPhones. Now first up, we've got news of 2TB iPhone 14s coming, and this is in a new report from MyDrivers. In their report, they advise that the iPhone 14s are going to be coming. When it comes to the chipset powering the device, we know Apple had reserved 3nm chipsets from TSMC to make the A16 faster and more efficient than ever. Now unfortunately, due to the current chip shortage, TSMC have pushed back their 3nm chips in order to try and clear the backlog, so the Apple A16 that's going to be powering the iPhone 14 is likely going to be a 4nm chipset, iPhone mini, and it's going to be replaced with a larger iPhone 14 instead. There's going to be 4 models of the iPhone 14, so we'll get a 6.1-inch iPhone 14, a 6.1-inch iPhone 14 Pro, we'll get a new 6.7-inch iPhone 14 Max, and then of course we've got the 6.7-inch iPhone 14 Pro Max. The minis have not been doing well in sales, and it was a surprise to see another mini this year. The introduction of the iPhone 14 Max allows people to have a bigger phone without having to pay for all the premium specs if they don't want them. Titanium alloy for the phone frames. They've previously had a stainless steel chassis, and the upgrade to titanium means it's less prone to scratching, it's more durable in terms of bending, and this is a great move considering titanium is both stronger and lighter than steel. The only downside is that fingerprint marks are more apparent, but Apple has been researching on how they're going to overcome this, and a patent was filed by Apple that shows a thin oxide coating for the surface to significantly reduce the fingerprints. Back, we're getting a similar layout to before, but the camera bump is being removed altogether, and the lenses are going to come straight out the back of the case. It's thought that these aren't going to protrude from the case, and that's the only real downside to the 12 and 13. The lenses poke out the back, so the phone won't sit flush on a table if it's placed on its back. We've also got a new research note from reliable analyst Ming Chi Kuo, and he states that the wide camera is going to see an upgrade from the predecessor's 12 megapixel to a new 48 megapixel wide camera. Although iPhone cameras do perform well, it makes sense to now try and add more pixels to the primary camera just to deliver some high resolution images for those that need them. While no leaks have come through on the other cameras just yet, Ming Chi Kuo also advises that we'll be getting a punch hole camera on the front, and the notch is going to be removed altogether. This is exactly the same as John Prosser advised a couple of weeks ago, and it's a 1-inch Super Retina OLED display. It's expected to be a 90Hz display with an 1170 by 2532 resolution, and this gives us 460 pixels per inch. On the front, we get the first punch hole selfie camera, which is likely to be a 12 megapixel wide angle, and the Face ID sensors are going to be embedded under the display. On the rear, it's expected that they're going to stick with a dual camera setup, but it may be the first time we get a LiDAR scanner on the lower end models. The dual camera setup is going to consist of a wide angle and an ultra wide camera, and the phone is going to be powered by the new A16 Bionic, which is going to be a 4nm chipset that's both more powerful and efficient than the A15. It's going to be coming with 6GB of RAM and a choice of 128, 256 or 512 storage. The phone's going to be powered by a 3240 mAh battery with improved fast charging, likely to be something like 25 watts. It's expected to support both wireless and reverse wireless charging, and it's also expected to come with 5G, Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.2 and ultra-wideband support. It will of course ship with the new iOS 16 14 Pro. With the iPhone 14 Pro, we get a 6.1-inch ProMotion OLED display. It's a 120Hz LTPO display with a resolution of 1170 by 2532, which gives us 440 pixels per inch. On the front, we get another 12 megapixel wide-angle camera with Face ID sensors embedded in the display. On the rear, we get a triple camera setup consisting of a 48 megapixel wide-angle as the primary, a 12 megapixel ultra-wide and a 12 megapixel telephoto, and of course we get the additional LiDAR scanner. The phone is going to be powered by the A16 Bionic, and it's expected that it's going to come with a choice of 8GB of RAM, 128, 256, 512 and 1TB of storage. The phone's going to be powered by a 3240 mAh battery with improved fast charging, likely to be 25 watts. It's expected to support both wireless and reverse wireless charging, and it's also expected to come with 5G, Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.2 and ultra-wideband support. It's going to ship with iOS 16 14 Max. The iPhone 14 Max is expected to come with a 6.7-inch Super Retina OLED display. It's expected to be a 90Hz display with a resolution of 1284 by 2778. On the front, we get the 12 megapixel punch hole selfie camera with Face ID sensors under the display, and then on the rear we get a 12 megapixel wide angle as the primary, a 12 megapixel ultra wide and the LiDAR scanner. The phone's going to be powered by the new A16 Bionic, and it should be coming with 6GB of RAM and a choice of 128, 256 6 or 512 storage. The iPhone 14 Max is going to be powered by a 4352 mAh battery, again with fast charging likely to be 25 watts. It's expected to support both wireless and reverse wireless charging, and it's also going to come with 5G, Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.2 and ultra-wideband support. Of course, it's going to be shipping with iOS 16 when it comes to the iPhone 14 Pro Max. The iPhone 14 Pro Max is coming with a 6.7-inch ProMotion OLED display. We're expecting a 120Hz LTPO display with a resolution of 1284 by 2778, giving us 458 pixels per inch. On the front, we get a 12-megapixel punch-hole selfie camera with Face ID under the display, and then on the rear is the triple camera setup and a LiDAR scanner. The triple camera consists of a 48-megapixel wide-angle, a 12-megapixel ultra-wide, and a 12-megapixel telephoto. The phone's going to be powered by the A16 Bionic, and it's expected that it's going to come with a choice of 8GB of RAM, 128, 256, 512, or 1TB storage. The phone's going to be powered by a 4352 mAh battery with improved fast charging likely to be 25 watts, and again it's likely to support both wireless and reverse wireless charging. It's expected to come with 5G, Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.2 and ultra-wideband support, and it will of course ship with iOS 16.
Been trying to change what I've been trying to say. Words don't come straight from my head to my mouth. It's such a shame that it fell out of place. Was never me that was bringing you down. Why we always looking for more? Why we always looking for more? Why we always looking for more? I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you wanted. I wish that I could change what you